I'm Brian Goldfinger from Goldfinger Injury Lawyers. We'd like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. Remember, if you're drinking, texting, smoking cannabis, you shouldn't drive, or somebody's going to have to hire my law firm to set things straight. Visit goldfingerlaw.com.
All right, take 3. Yo, sorry, man. We're wasted. It's the RR Christmas party.
It's getting way less professional by every introduction.
My recorder is just not working, so that's cool. That's cool. We've established so far that this has been a lit party.
Yeah.
It's been pretty lit.
Yeah, we've had a good time.
It's been Joakim Noah in New York City lit, you know.
Yeah. Yo.
That's a good way to put
Like
it.
Memphis will be a good time type party.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you to Betty's.
It's so lit that the 4 of us are standing outside the bar in the cold talking about the Raptors losing to Portland. No, I'm kidding. No, it was actually a great time, man. I mean, shout out Zarar and Sam and everyone that runs the site, Blake, you know. Yeah. Good time, you know. We always obviously got to keep a bit of money for this party, and it was worth it. So anyway, let's talk about this game. Kind of a shitty game, let's be real.
Yeah.
It kind of ended. The Raptors like were down the whole game, you know, playing rope-a-dope, you know. Like the Blazers didn't look that great, but they hit timely threes. Yeah. And the Raptors had a chance, you know. They were down 2. Fred VanVleet had just gone for a layup, and he came back down the floor 1-on-4 and took a bad shot with a minute left, and that kind of killed the momentum a little bit. I don't want to put the loss on Fred, but I mean, just take us through that last play. What happened?
Oh, you certainly can't put the loss on Fred, you know. 21-8. Like,
yep.
That's show, like Fred said. Yep. Fred said many times that he wants to be a starting point guard in this league, and he's proven pretty like this is what he wants to be, and this is the way he can produce if he's going to be a starting point guard. But like in that situation, like he's just got to kind of be a bit more wise to like pull it out, probe things like that.
Yeah.
When you're 1-on-3, you kind of got to know a bit better. Like obviously, like Fred's thing is that he bets on himself and he's going to go in and amongst the trees, and like 8 out of 10 times he's going to make a good play when he's just kind of like going in like that. Yeah. He's just kind of got to know better and whatnot. But I don't know. He's a young player and he's going to make that mistake sometimes. And in December, you'll take it. Yeah.
Like Fred's part of the reason we came back in the second half too, right? Exactly. I think it was like a 12-point game. Yeah. Like in that second quarter, it was kind of drudgy. We were like playing in the mud a little bit, and then we kind of pulled it to within 8 at halftime, and you got that feeling we were gonna come back in the second half. And Fred's hitting threes and providing the energy off the bench. I think he shot like 7 for 11 for like 20+ points. That's still like a lot of production.
I think he shot. Looking at the box score, I think he shot.
Well, 7 of 11. That's right.
There you go.
I think I saw he shot 7-11. So
my memory serves.
So he's just got, like he's obviously got like the requisite shot-making ability, but the problem is, once he gets the confidence going, sometimes I just feel like he gets away from that passing game, and we've seen that with guys like JV or even Siakam or Serge. He just doesn't sort of, make the conscious effort to make that pass sometimes, and maybe being overzealous in those fast break opportunities is one of the reasons what the Raptors, kind of folded at the end there. Not to mention a couple of botched plays by Kawhi and a few other plays as well. Not that Kawhi didn't play well, but a few other botched plays down the end for sure, not just Fred.
Yeah, I mean, look, listen. Fred has been great. Again, we can't say enough. Like the fact that he won against Steph, outplayed Steph in Golden State.
Oh, and now Seth.
Let's talk about how elite a defender he is.
Okay. We will plug your piece. We'll plug your. But I mean, like for real, he even went up today against Dame Lillard, went toe for toe, right? I mean, Dame got a couple buckets. You just expect that. But for the most part, he did a pretty good job defensively. He made that bad play at the end. But part of bet on yourself is sometimes you lose that bet. The only concern I have with Fred is how good of a passer can Fred be, right? Because I don't think he's good at passing to the roll man. Pick and pop, he's good. He's just not good at feeding the roll man. And he's not perfect, but
Yeah, and that's the value of that game is, without Kyle and with Kawhi, they've had one game this year, maybe 2, maybe 0, I don't know. But they need experience in those situations where Kyle's on the bench and Kawhi's playing. And they lost, and that's fine. They can handle a couple losses, but the experience in that situation is super, super valuable. Getting Fred those reps, whether he wins or not, is I think more valuable than the win.
Okay, let's talk about that. Kawhi running the team versus Kyle running the team, right? Again, this is a stupid discussion because the Raptors have both players, and they're obviously best with both players. However, why is it such the case that the Raptors are 7-1? Without Kawhi in the lineup, and they've had some very impressive wins over that time. They beat the Clippers, they beat the Warriors recently, they beat the Lakers and the Jazz. You know what I mean? Some pretty good all road wins, by the way, with the Wizards as well, road win. why is it that the team looks better when Kyle's there and Kawhi's not there versus when Kawhi's there and Kyle's not there?
Well, you guys remember last year the Everybody Eats Wizards? Okay. I think part of that is because
wow, you're saying Kawhi's John Wall?
No.
We're kicking you off the pod.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's so hard to scout a team when they don't have their best player because everything is just around what your best player is.
Okay.
So when Kawhi's not playing, just on like the random night of a back-to-back, like last night he played, it's like, okay, everything they did was off of Kawhi in a way. Yeah. But tonight, Kawhi's not going to be there. And that's what I remember listening to Woj talk about it one time. It was like everybody was like talking about when it was the Bradley Beal-led Wizards, and last night it was the John Wall-led Wizards, or like 2 weeks ago it was the John Wall-led Wizards, and the whole sample size of what the Wizards are is with John Wall. It's so hard to game plan for what that is, and I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing the Raptors be so good without Kawhi, is because teams don't know what the Kyle Lowry-led Raptors are at the time. Just because the system is built around Kawhi, and when just a team comes in on a random night and you played the night before, it's kind of hard to just only in one day's prep get ready for a team that every single night is built around Kawhi, and tonight's just built around Kyle Lowry.
And the thing about the system is people don't recognize how important just doing the same thing every night is. Like, if you have the same guys playing 30 minutes a night every night, that's a huge advantage. Like, the Raptors have had Kyle and JV, may his thumb rest in peace, and all of these guys playing.
He still got it, man.
May his thumb rest in peace.
It's on his hand. It's on his hand, like that.
And all these, they've all played together for so long. Yeah. It's pretty easy for them to just play a great game. And to have Kawhi step out and do his thing, obviously he's a more talented player than Kyle. No one's going to argue he's worse, but it just takes more reps for him to get to that point where it's just easier to play well without thinking. Yeah. And that's what the value of tonight's game was.
All right, Shyam. My counter to this is that Kyle has been running. He's been running the point for 6 years, and he's the motherfucking point guard, okay? Yes. I don't know if you're trying to play basketball. Without your point guard, you don't play well. And this has sort of been a trend going back many seasons, right? Yeah. So how can you expect Kawhi Leonard, after being here for 2 months, to suddenly know how to do what Kyle Lowry does?
Nobody can.
That's fair.
No, 100%. And that's, putting a lot on him, too, right? Yeah. And, I think, Lowry has been, let's be real, he's been the engine that's kind of started this whole thing since that Rudy Gay accidental trade that's happened, and he's been the unquestioned sort of leader behind that, so we can't ever question that. But at the same time, I think when the team plays without Lowry or without Leonard, especially tonight, I think without Lowry, it's definitely a testament as to how much of a playmaker he's been this year. He's just been a machine in terms of being an assist making machine as we look around us and.
Bro, King Street is wow.
And wonder if we're even recording this in a safe area right now.
Of course, we're safe. We're just trying to be thoughtful people.
Of course.
All right. Well, what else was I gonna say? I felt like was this a winnable game?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay.
They got themselves. Sorry, I didn't know you were coming to me.
Well, it was a one possession game at one point down the stretch, right? And we just watched a couple of possessions. I think Portland hit a couple of timely threes. That Alfariq Amino three was huge. Yeah, and then those were they just hit a couple of dagger threes down the stretch. And then with the home court behind them, we kind of go a little bit. Winning in Portland's always hard.
I would come from the other perspective. I think that game was. They weren't even close.
What?
Kawhi hit, 3 threes? 2 threes.
Yeah.
In the last 5 minutes that were pull-up contested shots.
The bar was lit. We were going crazy.
Those are MVP shots. Yeah. We were all screaming, but you can't count on that. Honestly,
you can't count on that though, because I feel like Kawhi. I don't know, man. I don't put it past Kawhi because
it's a classic steal a game that a guy that's top 5 is gonna steal you.
That's my point. If they were close, it's because they stole their way into it.
I mean, think about how many games the bench won for us last year in the second half, right? Yeah. This felt like one of those games where going into halftime it was an 8-point game. We're we have the momentum. I feel like once we put our foot down in the second half, we'd come back, and we did. And when we brought it within one possession, I thought we could take it home, but we just couldn't.
Yeah, Jakob Poeltl, may he rest in peace.
Only thing I would say about that is I agree, man. Portland hit some dumb.
Rest in peace. What's a
Yo, bro, what's going on, man? There were some really dumb threes, man. Seth Curry's a good shooter, but anytime Seth Curry's hitting threes on you, and Nick Stauskas is getting Nick Stauskas is getting dunks. Remember he got a layup.
Nick Stauskas?
He got an uncontested layup, but he could have dunked that. He honestly could have dunked that.
He actually could have.
He good enough.
No, yo, Nick Stauskas
You
is...
can jump higher than
Man, put some respect on Mississauga, all right? that's
Hazel McCallion's son right
I was
there.
just going to say, that's definitely Hazel's grandson, all right?
Breaking news in the podcast.
Oh, yeah, okay, what's going on?
Yo, let's talk more
Siakam is
wrinkles.
no damage found in tests after his hard fall
Okay.
against the Blazers.
Okay, we should contextualize that, okay? So, Siakam had a bit of a hard fall,
Yeah.
going hard to the layup, you know, like, was airborne. CJ made a play on the ball, right? He tried to take a foul.
Yeah, it was
and, like,
McCollum, that is.
McCollum, yeah. You know, honestly, with the way that CJ Mosley played this, he might have just hurt Pascal, man.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, I got a daughter to feed now, man. I need these minutes, man. No, I'm kidding.
It's got to do something.
CJ was fine today. He had some threes, but I mean, yeah. So Pascal took a hard fall, kind of fell on his tailbone.
Where's that box score at? You guys need to...
Oh yeah, stays.
Put it
Yeah,
away now.
yeah. He stayed down for a bit. He was good though. He's good.
Cold out here.
What did he
Okay, the last.
we think he shot 5 of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 and 10.
5 of 10.
If I had to guess, I mean...
Wow.
Yeah, 5 of 10, 13 points looks
Yeah.
about reasonable, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, he
Yo, that's his
Hit
best game of the
2
year,
threes.
right?
Hit
that's
2
like one of his
threes.
best
That would be
games
his
of the
best
year.
game of the year.
would be
Like couple
better
of
games
shots,
the
like
year.
CJ's on the floor for once he makes that first shot, it's
Yeah.
that slippery slope feeling you get as a defender, and like he served that purpose tonight in the second half. I thought his shot making ability was big, like him and Kawhi hitting those like back-to-back, you know, threes in that fourth quarter was huge. So like for CJ standards, I thought it was good, but he also had a couple of dummy plays with a turnover there. And the headband, man, what was up with the headband?
Yeah, no, that's not what he needs.
It's just not a good
It's
look.
a guy searching.
Yeah.
It's better looking than that. Also, can I point out, Will, you had such a fantastic tweet
What?
about people valuing his
Oh
basketball
yeah,
game
that
over
was
his
fucked up,
parenting.
man.
People need to
The open gym.
realize,
We're talking about the open gym
Yes.
episode. Yeah, in the
being a parent is
Yeah.
more important than being a shooter. And you, like, honestly,
Yeah.
people are like, oh, you need to take time with, like, what are you doing with your family? You need to
Yeah.
be in the gym, getting up threes. That's
Listen, man.
insane. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you calling that out
No,
because
I mean,
This is
it's-
CJ's
That's
sixth time
insane.
in double figures this year. Oh my god!
I can't believe there's been 6. No, but for
I'm actually genuinely shocked.
no, but for real on the CJ thing, like, yo, listen, like, we all watch sports as like a distraction from our lives. Like,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be. We shouldn't
has
be.
a life.
We shouldn't be so selfish as to like infringe on another person's
Yeah,
life.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
preach.
unless they're doing some sus shit, but like him being a, it has nothing to do. It's ridiculous. The last thing I want to talk about before we do like 3 stars and shit, and it's like, so Kawhi first half 3 points. I would say outplayed by Al-Farouq Aminu, right? Yeah, he didn't even play. Man, relax.
Yeah. And in the second half to come out the way he did was incredible.
Yeah, like 25 in the second half.
Incredible.
I mean, was that just rust from Kawhi? He just needed like the first half, or what was going on there?
Yeah, I think Kawhi he you know rises to the moment, right? Like we saw that, we've seen that like in his time in San Antonio and his early time in Toronto. Like he thrives off of those moments, and like once he saw one of those shots go down, I think we had like talked about it. You know, once he hit that shot, it was like that was the shot DeMar couldn't hit, which was those like.
We did say that. We did say that.
We did say that.
I sent a bad tweet, man. I said he was having a playoff DeRozan kind of game.
Yeah.
He ended up having a regular. He had a regular season DeRozan game, 28, 6, and 4.
Yeah, and those pull-up threes are just massive for the team, especially without Lowry, who's probably the only other guy on the roster who can kind of create that gravity on the court and hitting those types of shots. So that was incredible.
Yeah. All right. Let's do 3 stars. We'll just get each of you to pick one. All right.
Oh, my.
For first star.
Yeah, no, Lewis is going first.
All right, Lewis. Let's go.
Well, I would say Kawhi. Obviously Kawhi.
Okay, Kawhi.
I mean, to continue on what he was saying, like,
Bro, he didn't even play the first half.
yeah, that's what I like. The first half he came out.
Look at the box score again.
Yeah,
Look at the
I'm with that.
look at the box score again and pick Danny Green. For me,
No.
please.
The first half
was
coming
actually-
out without Kyle,
Yeah.
trying to be like, we're missing a point guard. Let's be a point guard, and he fills in not well. And the second half he comes in as himself, right?
Yeah.
Let's play like myself, and he comes out incredible. And like, obviously, we haven't had a guy like that in respect to when he comes out playing like something we've never really seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. Second star, I think, has to go to Danny Green, man. Like, it's a close call between him and Fred, but I think, like, in terms of just everything Danny Green gives offensively, like, it's such a polished game. He's so smooth. Like, there's never a time that he makes a mistake that makes me want to, like, be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it's just everything is so in control and it's methodical, and I thought today was a perfect example of that, and, like, he was a big part of that second half push. I think he deserves a second star. Fred VanVleet, close third for me, but I don't know.
I agree with that. Yeah. So Fred's definitely the third star. I guess Fred's shown for so long what he's going to be in this league, and if a team eventually is going to invest in Fred as a starting point, as the starting guard, and eventually I really hope the Raptors do. Yeah. Like he's shown this game, the Golden State game, the Clippers game, like every game, but like the last two specifically, he's been absolutely incredible. Like he shows you he's bet on himself. He can be this you were saying tonight, he's not exactly steady because he plays outside himself sometimes, but he can really be it's like when he first came in the league, everyone was like, oh, I guess maybe you're reaching a bit too far when you say you can be a starting point guard in this league, but he's shown this guy can be a starter in some team. I think me and you talked about once, he could be a Darren Collison guy.
He's super good looking too.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that.
All right. We're gonna discount you from the Fred VanVleet discussion. All right. Fred's fine, but super good looking.
What are you talking about?
He's got that Drake's way.
He's got a good haircut. He's got good beard lined up, but
he can definitely be a starter.
He's got good. He's a classic case of if you got good hair and good facial hair, then you're good.
He's a classic case of thick and gorgeous.
Wow.
So he's in your...
Shout out Blake Murphy. All right. Nah, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Shout out ODB.
No, Blake's slim thick, man. He's slim thick. Wow. All right, Blake, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right, but
Fred had a good game, I guess.
All right, okay. I want to say one thing about Danny Green. Right, we were talking about Danny Green, in the games where we needed more from Danny, in that Golden State Warriors game, in that Orlando game when he hits the game winner, in games where we needed more from him, he has stepped up and given you more. Yeah. And that's what you want to see. Same thing with the first Warriors game. He was hitting those clutch threes, and the same thing tonight. He was making all the best plays and defensively. He was if I had to reshuffle shit, I'm putting Danny Green number 1.
100%. He's got a certain poise about him where he doesn't let the moment or the situation to poise shake him in terms of his poise and his overall kind of calm demeanor, and even the way he shoots, he can be off balance in a shot and just readjust midair to just get the perfect shot off, and the arc in his shots just look beautiful. He's just a smooth, in control player. There's no other way I could put it, and I think that's a function of being in San Antonio for that long and having that championship pedigree, and obviously being a close friend to Kawhi and having that chemistry with him has helped him as well. So absolutely, I think he's coming around, and I think that what we initially thought was a throw-in was actually a pretty valuable asset that I think could contribute to a finals run.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about Danny for tonight is just for a guy who's in a contract year, he's 30 years old, you would normally want to take a lot of shots, get your big numbers, because this is the last time you got a big contract. He has not one time this season made a selfish play. Not once.
Solid pro,
and that's offense and defense, everything.
Every time he has a good game, he's so fine with the next game just being a role player again. He's the Spurs always say we get guys that have gotten over themselves. Yeah. And that is Danny Green epitomized.
He also runs kind of funny.
He does. He kind of waddles. You know what? He's not very fast running
waddles
forward.
Is a really good way of putting it.
All right, and then in terms of Fred, we're just seeing Fred's importance on the team, right? Last year he was this important, and this year, obviously he was slow to start the year. Maybe that had something to do with the toe injury. But if this is what we, man, how many 504 busts? Come on, man. When I get to get home from work, I don't get this many 504.
Henderson,
all right, let's do Gerald Henderson.
Oh,
all right.
Zach Collins, we talked about him a lot tonight.
All right, well, you guys are looking at the box score about Fred. I think Fred's.
Are we disqualified you from talking about Fred? Because no, I'm kidding.
I love Fred.
All right.
I think Fred's the exact type of guy where he is the perfect role player, but when you want him to step into something bigger, he needs to work on that, obviously. Yeah. I don't think that's his perfect role, but when you ask him to do less, he will give you more. When you ask him to do more, he'll give you less.
He serves his purpose as kind of that bench addition, but when you ask more of him, he might struggle.
Whereas Danny Green, you ask him to give you more, he'll give you more, right? He's the role player who can always give more. And so Fred is, so I'm just rambling now. What do you got on that box score? About that?
I was going to say, you're the only one without
the only thing I'd say on Fred before we move on to the Gerald Henderson would be, dude was so important to that second unit last year, right?
You're not even
can't forget
looking
that.
at the box score.
when Bam Adebayo clipped him for that screen, and when we lost him for that first round against Washington, that was a subtle,
it was very felt.
That was a big loss, and we felt that in that second round against Cleveland in terms of it just didn't feel right. So I think we're underestimating how important he is to that second unit, and he is sort of that the heart and soul of that second unit. So I think super important.
All right, Gerald Henderson.
Out of the box, Gerald Henderson. I'm going.
Okay.
The bench. They got 4 guys in double figures.
You gotta pick one guy, man. You can't pick the whole bench.
I don't know how this works. I quit.
Zach Collins
Pick one guy. Zach Collins. All right.
No, Zach Collins actually had a very good game. He was very effective. You were talking about tonight, like he might be one of the best backup centers.
And Louis might be one of the best backup centers.
Good looking guy.
He's actually one of the best backup centers in the league, and he showed it tonight.
He's the best looking guy in Portland.
And 6 assists. Yeah, 6 assists.
No, I said 16-4. No, 6 assists.
Oh, that Evan Turner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Look, we're wasted, man. You couldn't tell by now.
Let's come on.
All right.
Good game for Zach Collins. Good haircut for Zach Collins.
Okay.
Also, the shooters off the
Raptors.
bench, man. Stauskas and Curry.
I was gonna say, let this argument talk about Stauskas. All right. What do you have? What's your best Nick Stauskas memory?
Nick Stauskas memory. Well, I mean, not that I had any personal memory with him, but just driving by Loyola Catholic Secondary School every day on the way to the GO station to go to work. I think about Nick Stauskas and how he was, lighting up those gyms.
That is the most meaningless memory.
What's Loyola's reputation?
Loyola's they're actually pretty good. They're one of the they at least when I was in school they were one of the better teams in like Region Appeal Secondary School Athletic Association, whatever that was.
How were they compared to where you went? Where'd you go?
I went to Woodlands.
Woodlands.
Yeah, man, I played on the same court as Andrew Nicholson actually when we played Father Michael Gates at one point. So yeah, no, we've seen our fair share of Canadian ballers for sure.
Yeah, we just there's an ambulance going by. This is man, it's a terrible podcast. It's either an awful podcast and no one's listening, or it's the best one of the season.
God bless you if you're still listening.
5 for sure.
God bless you if you're still listening.
Merry Christmas.
Stauskas at 13. I'm gonna go with Aminu. I felt like every time you hit a 3, I'm like, bro,
and it was
I
the
can't.
timeliness of the threes
late
too, right?
3 though.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Alfred Aminu, stop. Like, but
that's the one you live with though.
Exactly, and that's why it hurts.
That's process over results, and results just
exactly. Some nights it's gonna hurt you. Some nights you're gonna live with that one, and he's gonna miss, and you're gonna make the comeback. For sure. Tonight it didn't work.
I'm pretty sure he stopped recording.
All right. Well, this podcast has run on long enough. Yo, there's so many streetcars. It's 1 a.m. We don't need this much service,
it's
man.
As if you stand on King Street and you.
I gotta go home later. I do need this much.
Oh yeah, you're right. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Shyam, Colin, and Louis for doing this podcast. And I mean, I guess I'll recap the Denver one on Sunday. All right, peace.